calling Hasik and
Hi, Yash.
team.
Hi. It's such a pleasure. Hola, hola, hermano.
Hola, hermano.
Yes.
Bien, ¿y
Buenos
tú?
días. Muy bien,
Buenos días.
gracias. ¿Todo bien?
Todo muy bien.
Excelente.
Welcome everyone. I'm seeing that many participants are joining the call right now. I'm really happy to see everyone again. I would just like to quickly remind everyone to please keep your microphones off when you aren't participating so we don't have background noise and we can clearly hear the speakers. So as we mentioned on the email, we have two really interesting sessions today. We already have our speakers here. Our first speaker will be Hasik Kasi from India, and he will be speaking about making your idea a reality. And for the second hour of today's workshop, we will have Sofia Lana from Spain, and she will be talking about communicating your message. So we are really happy to have them both here, and we're looking forward to this workshop. So I will introduce Hasik and we will start with his presentation right away as we have a busy schedule today. So Hasik Kasi is 14 years old and is passionate about the oceans and tackling the plastic problem afflicting oceans and marine life. At the age of 11, he was invited to a TED Talk in New York to talk about his invention, the Irvis ship, which he designed to clean the oceans, with an aim to solve the plastic waste crisis problem. He has spoken on multiple other forums, including TEDx Gateway Mumbai, TEDx JGEC, BJTI College, TEDx ICEM, Seed and Chip Summit, and the Economic Times Global Business Summit to raise awareness on the danger of plastic pollution. Hasik is also a vocal opponent of circular economy and is currently engaged in creating viable solutions on alleviating inefficiencies in current consumption of plastic at a micro level and adhering to the circular economy framework. In addition, Hasik is working towards creating his awareness campaign and as an established NGO, the Irvis Foundation, where he works with the youth today to bring generational change in the way they interact with plastic. Hasik, we welcome you and we are very happy to have you here. I'm sure the participants will learn a lot from you.
Hello, it's really nice to be here, and I'm really excited just to present my just to present and just share my knowledge with all. And it's like it's a huge honor to be here. So, can I share my screen? So, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think you should be.
Can you see?
Yes, we can see your screen. Thank you so much, Hasik.
Oh, whoops, sorry. Just give me a second. Just give me a second.
Okay, as Hasik opens his other presentation, I would just like to share that he has an amazing project called the Irvis Ship, and I really recommend you watching his TED Talk. He shares his project there, and it's really, really interesting. So if you're ready, Hasik, go ahead.
Okay, and I think I shared the correct PowerPoint now.
It looks like Hasik may have frozen.
Yeah, I
Hasik, if
think
you
so. He has
okay.
intermittent internet problems. So maybe Amit, you want to share your screen while Hasik
Yeah,
also.
I'll share my screen.
Um,
Please. So this is a presentation by me and Amit Mishra. So we both are co-founders of the Airbus Foundation. So the Airbus Foundation was established in 2019, and we are dedicated to bringing a generational change in the way the youth of today deals with plastic. So we also wish to be at the forefront of the movement of bringing awareness like for responsible plastic consumption. My name is Hasik. I am 14-year-old. I live in India and study in the ninth grade. So I'm really passionate about the ocean and the plastic pollution problem. So like way back in the fourth grade, I guess, I had this idea just to try to solve something that we as humans are facing, right? To solve the plastic waste crisis that is plaguing our oceans. So, and then I was also really fortunate to have like the support and the mentorship to take that idea to the next level and try to realize like other dreams of mine, like trying to bring awareness about the plastic pollution crisis and change mindsets. So, and just brought my idea to reality. I'm also joined with Amit Mishra. So, um,
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Amit Mishra. I am working as an advisor in SDG and co-founder of Airways Foundation. So I come from a cybersecurity consulting background, and uh, I strongly believe that this is high time that we need to start thinking about our environment, and that's where I work with Hasik in bringing a generational change with the help of Airways Foundation in terms of how people consume and dispose of plastic.
Okay, so this is our agenda for the sessions. So in the first lesson, we're just going to understand like how do you take the first steps to convert your idea into reality. Just understand those first steps that we all have to take to fully realize our dreams. So the second stage is trying to create an investor pitch. So you may be wondering what is an investor pitch. So every idea needs funding, right? Everything needs money. The world basically runs on money. And how do you entice like people to actually fund your project? Through an investor pitch. It's a presentation that you give to possible investors so that they get interested in your project and they actually help and they actually fund your idea. Lesson three is setting up the objectives and goals. How do you set those? Like, how do you set your vision and your mission, and how do you set those goals and the destinations that you, with your idea, want to reach? Like, what is your future plans too? And then lesson four is like just looking at the practical applications and like how do you actually convert the idea that you have into reality. So we're going to look at we're going to see how do we apply the concepts learned in the real world. So there's this quote by Pablo Picasso that our goals can only be reached through the vehicle of a plan in which we must fervently believe and upon which we must vigorously act. There is no other route to success. So this just highlights the importance of plan. Without a plan, you cannot reach from point A to point B, right? The plan in need of plan to actually set up your idea and your project is vital. So then again, there is no other route to success. You need to really have all your steps laid out, and it must be concrete. So taking the first steps. So you must first so there are these are the first steps that you need to take and you really need to identify in order to make your project or your idea more concrete in your head and be able to present it to others and help it become a reality and a success. So first you need to define your problem. What is what is the problem that your solution is going to tackle? So is that problem big? Is it small? Who is it affecting? You need to identify a problem that is worth solving. Is it because no, if this problem is like relatively unknown and it's not affecting anyone, then what's the point of solving it, right? Then comes your solution. So what is your solution to that problem? You need to find the most optimal solution and the most efficient solution that can actually come ahead against your competitors and can actually efficiently solve the problem that you chose and that you identified. Next is the customers. Who is your target audience? How is your solution affecting those customers? Who are the stakeholders? So of course, like if you don't identify who your solution is targeting, I mean, that wouldn't make much sense, would it? Next, we have key performance indicators. So these are like success metrics. So like what classifies your solution as a success, and these are also kind of goals. Like if you have like certain criteria that your idea must actually must like certify with. Um, then we have competition. So every market or idea will have competition sooner or later, right? And how do you deal with that competition? How do you need to analyze your competition, and how do you emerge at the top? We have team. So of course you can't like do all the heavy lifting alone, right? You need a team to get like more ideas, more collaboration, so that you actually go forward. um, Surround yourself with the right people, and make sure you're diverse, right? If you're just like alone, like if you're alone, or you're just surrounded with one kind of people, doing like having the same mindset, then you might not get like you won't get any like more ideas. Having a more diverse bunch of people will help you get even more ideas and even more features to your solution. And then you have finances. Again, the world runs on money, and if you run out of money, you're doomed. So you need to really manage your cash flows and really manage your finances. So Amit can
Yeah.
carry forward with an example.
Yeah. So talking about the problems that we have in hand, right? So let's talk about the electric cars that we have, right? So cars have been there around for a century now, right? And one big problem that we used to have with traditional cars is the carbon emission that would happen because of the cars running out. And you could easily find in your neighborhood that even a small family with 5 people have more than one car, right? So the one major problem with this cars which was impacting everyone was the carbon emission and the environmental impacts of those carbon emission, right? So the solution that companies like Tesla come up with was electric cars, right? So they came up with a solution that you can have a car which with zero emission, which would fully be electric, and it would also save you money on the fuel, right? Now talking about customers, who would be the customers for electric cars? So any person who drives or who wants to travel from one place to another could be a target customer, right? Now what are the success criteria, right? So if we talk about the problem of carbon emission, right? So a car which with zero emission could be defined as a successful uh, solution to this problem, right? In competition, so when Tesla started, it had very few limited competition, right? But now with more awareness about the problem, there are more companies emerging into that space, like even Google and Facebook, sorry, and even Google and Amazon are moving towards the autonomous and electric car industry, right? But talking about team is the most important aspect about any startup, right? Because whenever you start a product, when you intend to build a product, your idea would pivot over a period of time, your business model would change, the market that you're entering into will also evolve, right? But what stays constant is the set of people who actually started that idea, and the passion and belief that they have towards changing the world and making an impact with their idea. And last but not the least is finances. And as Hasik rightly mentioned, that the world runs on money, right? And you need to have a business model which could bring in revenue to sustain the company, right?
So you need to really be prepared for trial and error. You're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fall hard. But really need to get up and not give up. So you also need to learn from failure, right? You should celebrate failures. Don't like you should learn from how you fail, and just implement it in the next plan. So yeah. So if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough, is a very well-known quote by Einstein. So this really applies well in like the business world, and just trying to come up with your idea. And suppose you were in an elevator. So and then you met with a person, right? Like it's a new stranger. So um, and you have in an elevator, like how long does an elevator how long are you in an elevator, right? Like 30 seconds to a minute, right? So those 30 seconds is all the time you have to actually explain your idea, your organization, your project to that person. So that is basically an elevator pitch. So I think some of you may have heard it before. elevator pitch is like explaining your idea in 30 seconds. And after those 30 seconds, when you actually walk out of that elevator, you're gonna like, you have to blur that, the person's mind, right? And then if he's really interested in it, he can follow up and you can exchange business cards or something like that. Yeah. So who are you?
Yeah. So as I mentioned before, that the most important aspect about any startup is the people who are in, right? So when you intend to approach a problem, you need to have the right set of team who could actually solve the problem, and who should have expertise in the relevant industry domains in which you're targeting, right? Now, when you select your team, you need to focus on four important aspects. One is that your team should have complementary skills. You cannot have people having the same skill set, right? That becomes redundant. So if you get into a situation, you need to have different people with different mindset to deal with those situations. And the team needs to share a strong relationship and synergy to work as a team, right? They should, and when you need to have people who could fall back on each other in case of an issue, right? And next we have the passion that the team should have towards the idea, towards the problem that you're solving. That with strong belief, anything could be achieved, right? So you need to have a set of people who strongly believe in your idea and you strongly believe in the solution you're trying to build in. And last but not the least is the talent that you need to build the solution that you're targeting. So for example, if you're building a technology product, you need to have people from the relevant technology domains who would understand the technology, understand the market, and help you succeed.
Yeah, and it also it also matters greatly on not just your idea, but who you are and what in ideas you also embody, right? So you need to focus on like building a really proper team and also building your really like and building your innovation. So what is the problem that you're solving, right? Like I said before, one of the main important steps is like figure out the problem that you're trying to solve. So you need to define problems like that you're solving with a careful selection of words. So when you're defining your problem to a person, you need to answer these following questions. So the first one is like you need to answer the question if your problem is worth solving, right? Like is it worth it, right? Like let's take electric cars for an example. Like many years ago, like when cars first arrived, people didn't think about the impact it has on climate change. But now the climate change is a really, really, really big issue, and then we need to solve it. And then there's where electric cars come from, right? So electric cars can actually provide the solution to climate change by being like even like using electricity instead of fossil fuels, and even that electricity can be powered by renewable sources of energy, which is eco-friendly. Then we need to see how much of the problem like how much of the population is the like is this problem being faced by, right? Is it at least being faced by 1% of the country's population? So if it's not affecting anyone, there's practically no use of creating that solution, right? So we need to see how many people are getting affected by this problem. Again, like we can take the example of the electric car. Everybody sooner or later like is going to face the blunt of like of climate change, right? And it's a huge pressing problem, and we need to tackle it as soon as possible. Are people willing to pay for you solving this problem? Like everyone, again, you need finances to actually come up with a solution, right? And are people willing to pay for you for solving this problem? Like so, like so. If suppose I give you like suppose I give you some money, and you people are going to expect returns on this, right? And this also comes hand in hand with this. If this problem is not worth solving, then like nobody's going to invest in it, because that problem is not being faced by anyone and it's not worth it. Again, with climate change is a huge problem, and lots of people are willing to invest in it because lots of people are finally realizing about climate change. And then speaking of people becoming aware about climate change, are people aware about this problem, or do you need to create awareness? So like, is it a huge pressing problem that we're facing right now? Like for example, COVID-19, which like everyone's aware about this, right? And do you need to create awareness about this problem, like perhaps the plastic pollution crisis. Not everyone is aware that like how like personal masks or gloves or like uh, those hats you get, which look like shower caps, they actually contribute to plastic, right? So do you need to create awareness to this, which again also needs finance, or are people aware about it? So those are some things that you really need to define.
Yeah, and awareness about the problem is a very important aspect in deriving your business model, right? If people don't realize that they don't have that they have a problem, then they're not going to pay for the solution, right? So
Yeah.
depending on the type of awareness that you need to create, you define your business model going forward. So the next question we have is, how big is the problem? So this essentially means that how big is the market that you're entering into, right? So let's assume that you have 100,000 customers, and each customer is paying you $100, for example, right? So this makes the market size as a $10 million market, right? Now, as a company, even if you acquire 5% of this market share, you have a $5,000 $500,000 annual revenue, which actually is a good enough revenue for you to sustain, right? So this is an important aspect that you need to look into while choosing a problem to solve, right? How big is the problem, and what is the target market size that you are targeting, right? Now, one important aspect for choosing the market is whether it is the right time to enter the market, right? So if you talk, let's take a very simple example, which is quite popular these days, is the hand sanitizers, right? So 1 year before back, the people were not very concerned about sanity, and there were very few hand sanitizer brands that we used to come across, right? But with this COVID-19 pandemic that we hit, we see a new brand of sanitizer as soon as we enter the supermarket every day, right? And now that people are more aware about cleanliness and sanitization, it's a good time for moving into the market for sanitization products, not only for personal and healthcare, but also for commodities like vegetable sanitization or food product sanitization, right?
Yeah, and also there's this example like you can see how big is the problem. Like suppose you had this like problem with shoes, or you have a problem with people taking vacation to an luxury resort, which is like in a very tropical but like inhibited part of the earth, right? So like if only 10 people go there, but they invest then like $10,000 in it, and so per year you're gonna just get like $100,000. But when you look at the shoes, the total market size of $10 million, and you're only trying to solve 5% of this, you see that it's like 5% of 10 million is $500,000, right? So what's better, the $500,000 or the $100,000 with the people going to the luxury resort? So you need to really identify how big is your problem, and like how many people are getting affected by it, and is the timing correct, like Amit said. So now we come to your main idea, right? What is your solution to this problem? So you need to provide the most simple explanation for your solution by highlighting the key features. So we have completeness. So how much? So this is just talking about like how much of the problem is your solution actually solving. So take hybrid cars and electric cars. We're just gonna go with electric cars for the whole session. So look at hybrid cars. Hybrid cars use both petrol and electricity, right? So it's solving the like problem like halfway, right? While using electricity, it's also using petrol. So it's solving the problem just partially, right? But look at electric cars. Electric cars are like they solve this problem completely, right, by getting completely rid of fossil fuels and using electricity as their main power source, right? And then you can also use renewable sources um, of energy and eco-friendly sources of energy to actually power an electric car. So like are you solving the problem completely, or are you just taking this first steps for like you or other people to solve this problem? Then we have value proposition. So this goes hand in hand with benefits. What is the value you're bringing to your target audience or your customer? So, like take self-driving electric cars by Tesla, right? What is the core? So in self-driving cars, you're really lessening the learning curve of driving a car by making fully autonomous and using like machine learning to drive the car by itself, right? And that's a huge value on place, like that's a huge value for the customer, right? Getting completely rid of driving, giving you like saving you time, saving you effort, um, and yeah, then you have benefits. So what benefits is this bringing to the customer? Again, it goes hand in hand with value proposition. Is it saving money for the customer? Is it saving time? Is it providing convenience? Right, so benefits for the self-driving electric car can be like, one benefit is of course the self-driving aspect of it, but it's also going eco-friendly, right? That with using electricity, and electricity being generated by renewable source of energy. And then you have the need. What is the need of the solution? Is it a must have, or is it just good to have? Like climate change is a huge pressing problem, and we need to come up with solutions that tackle it, right? Like electric car is a very good solution and very innovative solution to tackle this problem. Just give me a moment. Yeah, okay.
Now, so talking about how does your solution work? So this slide typically focuses on what should be your business model, and how do you intend to build the business about a solution that you're bringing in, right? So the first important aspect is market entry. That how do you tend to enter the market, or are there any barriers that you need to um, deal with before entering a market, right? The second is what are the dependencies that you need to that you have for the market that you're entering in. So talking again about the electric cars, so I think by the end of this session all of you would would have enough information about how electric cars function. So talking about the dependencies of electric cars, right? So it's not about just driving the car, but you need to have enough charging stations for people to charge the batteries for those cars, right? So the electric car market has a dependency on the batteries, right? And that's what plays a very important role in how did in the entire business model of the electric cars. The next aspect we have is of simplicity, right? So how simple is your solution for people to adapt, right? So talking again about the cars, so any person who has ever driven a car can drive a car, because it doesn't bring any difference from traditional cars in terms of the operation, right? At the same time, it also adds value that for people who have never driven a car, because of the autonomous features that these cars bring in, you could simply sit in the car, and the car would drive itself, right? So it's pretty simple for the customers to adapt. And the last one is a bargaining power, right? So whenever you go to a customer, you need to empower the customer, and the customers need to feel that they have the control to choose and to use the product the way they want to, right? So these are the four important aspects you need to think about before building your business model, and these four aspects would actually define the success criteria for your business model. So once you have a sustainable business model ready, the next question that you have is how do you acquire customers, right? So customer acquisition, or I would say the business model that we have in industry are primarily of three types. One is the B2B, where you serve for companies to companies, right? So let's say uh, building spare parts for automobile manufacturers, right? So there's a company which manufactures spare parts for another company, right? So a company becomes a customer of the first company. The next is the B2C, where you target the end users, or the common man, and you build products which would actually be consumed by the common man. And like then we have the B2B2C, which is basically a three-tier model in which you build products for some company who in turn supplies it to the end customers, right? Once you have identified which model are you in, then you move to the GTM strategy, which is the go-to-market strategy. So how would you acquire customers? And but one important aspect about how do you about acquiring customers is to identify who is your customer, right? So you could have multiple personas for customers. Talking again about Tesla, the electric cars, right? So Tesla manufactures the fastest cars in the world, and in terms of fuel efficiency, it runs on electricity, right? So you could target the sports car drivers who would want speeding cars, and at the same time you would want a common man who wants efficient fuel efficiency. And at the same time, they also the Tesla cars are also the most safest cars in the world, right? So it could also be used by elderly people who want to have safety while traveling. Next is the minimum viable segment. Like, what is the smallest portion of the market that you can target, and what would be who would be your first set of target customers? And then we have branding. So for any product that you bring into the market, branding plays a very important role, and that's how people recognize you, right? And so if again we talk about Tesla, so the founder of Tesla, Elon Musk himself, comes to the stage and promotes the product, right? So that's how he is branding himself and his product at the same time. Then we have a channel strategy. So let's say you have a company in the US and you want to sell it in India. So how do you acquire customers in India while sitting in the US? So you need to have channel partnership with organizations already sitting in India who would sell your product on your behalf. And then we have the marketing strategy, that how would you make people aware about your product, right? So you need to run marketing campaigns, advertisement campaigns to uh, uh, advertise your product basically. And then we have the product positioning, that where do you position your product? So Tesla, if we talk about, is positioned in a way that any that every individual could relate to the product, right? And they would at some point of time feel the need for the product. And next we have that what are the possible approaches of going to market, right? One is the strategic alliances. So the same example where you want to sell your product in India while sitting in the US. So you make alliances with organizations in India or in any other country in which you want to sell your product. Then we have search engine optimization, which is basically a digital way of marketing your product. So any person going to the internet would come up with ads of your product and would get to know about your products from the internet. And then we have referral programs. So let's say in most B2C space, the word from mouth is a very important marketing strategy, right? So if you have a set of customers who are satisfied with your product and they refer your products to 10 other customers, right? And then you give a benefit to those customers for referring your product. So that is one good way of attaining more customers. The next we have is the content strategy, in terms of how do you make people relate to your product. So content strategy could be through blogs or through video ads, or it could be simple email newsletters, right? You need to make people read your content and understand what your product is helping them with. And last but not the least is the social media strategy, is because in 2020 most of our life is on social media, right? So if you want to actually get come across people, you need to be active on social media and run social media campaigns to market your product. And then we have about how do you make money at the end, because any business is about money, and Hasik rightly mentioned in the beginning that the world runs on money, right? So defining how do you price your product is basically a very important aspect for both investors and for founders, right? So one approach for pricing your product could be you identify the cost that you spend to manufacture the product, and you put a margin on top of it, and then you price the product. Or you could simply if you're into a space in which you already have sufficient competition, so you could do a research on how your competition is charging, and you could create a benchmark on competition pricing, and then set up your pricing based on that benchmark. And this pricing strategy actually brings you a profitable business model, which would actually attract investors to fund your project.
So what could go wrong? So you need to analyze your competition in the market by studying like everything else that is there in the market, which is similar to your idea and your project. What they're trying to do, what their business models are, their monetization, like how do they manage their finances, strategy, market acquisition, and just try to obtain answers for the following questions. So so how is you what is your product like? Is it a 10, like is it a way better product than what your closest competition is, or is it just like adding on like is it just adding on an innovation to an existing product? Like is it acting like an incremental improvement? Like we have hybrid and electric cars, right? So electric, like, so you have hybrid cars, which is just an incremental improvement by using electricity, right? But you're still sticking with petrol, so just an improvement. But looking at electric cars is a 10 times better product, as you just completely ditching the petrol and just using um, electricity, and that's a 10 times better product, right? So is there a learning curve or a first mover advantage? So is this like sorry? Did someone
Go
say?
on, Hasik. I think there was some disturbance.
Oh,
Go on.
okay, yeah. So is there a learning curve or a first mover advantage? Like, so you know how like Tesla was one of the first like manufacturers of the self-driving car, right? And self-driving and electrical car, right? And that is a huge that is a huge responsibility, and like it just takes so much trial and error too. So first mover advantage yeah, so this is like you're gonna yeah, so Tesla had to do lots of trials and error experiments to actually get their business model, the strategy, the technology correct, right? But like when you think of other companies, they can just take inspiration from Tesla and just see what they're doing and just try to add on with an initial, like with another innovation, or act like an incremental improvement. um is it a winner takes all market? Like so there's a huge market, right, for like so many innovations, right? And if a winner takes all market is um like if you're on top, then all the other stuff below is kind of obsolete, right? So you have an example
Yeah,
of
so you could think of the winner takes it all market. Like imagine a huge marketplace in a crowded city where you have multiple restaurants, right? So all you could go to any of those restaurants, and all those restaurants have customers and they make money, right? But imagine a small cafeteria in front of an office building, right? So you would generally find either one or two stores out there, right? Because the one who would sustain in such a market is the one who provides the best quality food for the cheapest price, right? So that's what it defines winner takes it all market, or it's a big enough market for everyone to have some share of it and still sustain the market.
and then of course, are there any competitive advantages that you could have, right? Like and then again, like you have this incremental improvement, right? This is like your innovations, your thing that you're adding on to an existing product, like an innovation on top of an invention by somebody else, could give you a competitive advantage, or like you might reduce the prices of something, or um, or you may make it more accessible. So you need to figure out what competitive advantages that you have against other ideas and other projects similar to yours.
Right, and one important competitive advantage that mostly people have is when you have some competition already in a space that you're trying to enter, right? Then you don't need to educate the customers; they already are aware of that. There's a problem that needs a solution. So you just need to provide a better and a more optimal solution, and people would buy you.
Yeah. So then what will it look like when you run out of money?
Yeah, so financial planning is very important for any business, right? So before you start any business, you need to clearly establish the financial process in terms of how you would make money, and how would you manage your cash flows, right? Because uh, any investor who comes in to fund your project would have the first question in terms of how do you make money, and once you have the money, how do you manage the money, right? So when we took the example of a market of shoes with 100,000 customers, where each customer would pay you $100 for the shoe. So when you acquire 5% of the market, you still have $500,000 of revenue, right? So this revenue is big enough for you to sustain, and if you manage it well, you could have a good valuation of the company, and a better exit strategy for the customers. So most startups that come fail because of improper financial planning, right? So this is one important aspect that you need to bring into your investor deck and show your investors that you have planned all aspects of your cash flows, and you're very clear about how you're going to spend money. And then lastly, we have the roadmap of the product, right? So when you go to investment, any investor seeking funds for your project, the first thing that they would ask is, where do you want to go in next 12 to 18 months? So you need to define appropriate roadmaps for your product, for your technology, and for your business as well, right? So, and at the same time, you need to set milestones in for next 1.5 years in terms of how do you phase out your product, and how do you want to grow in different milestones. And lastly, the most important aspect for any investor is the exit strategy in terms of how will the investors make money out of your project, right? So for most startups, there are two ways of exiting. Is one is an IPO, when you go make your company public, and you go become a listed company where people buy shares from you. Or another approach could be you get acquired by any other big player, or you're merged with any other company, and that's where the investors take their money out. So defining an exit strategy in the investor deck is very important, because this would actually help the investor understand that how would they get a return on their investment.
So yeah, again, like everyone wants returns on their money, right? Once there's an investment in your idea or your project, the investor and whoever's funding it will expect money to come back, right? So I mean, of course, yeah. So of course, this is not seeing from people who like grants or yeah. So these are people who. So yeah. Um, so when something is so this is quote by Elon Musk: when something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. So you gotta not give up on your idea, on your passion or your project, right? Even if like maybe the market is not good or you're not finding proper investors. But if you know that if you're passionate enough about your project and you know that this problem is like really important to solve, then like you need to go ahead. You need to again like celebrate failure, analyze all of your mistakes, and then just like scratch out you're gonna scratch out many plans and like when you start your own idea or like you try to implement your project. So again, just never give up, which is the last bit of advice that we're going to give you.
Yeah. So that's all we had. So we have a small activity that we want the participants to go through. So I hope, Anna, you have the template that we sent across, right?
Yes, I do. I have the template. Would you
Yeah.
like
So
me to share it in
yes,
the chat?
yes, just share it across with the participants. So
Okay.
the template specifies 10 questions that you need to have an answer before you approach any idea, right? So we want the participants to spend 10 minutes and answer those 10 questions in the slides, and then last 5 minutes we'll have them present those.
Perfect. I have shared the template on the chat. Would you like the participants to go to breakout rooms in order to work on the questions, or should they work on them personally?
I think we could have teams, and they could go to breakout rooms and work in teams.
Okay, perfect. How about we create 5? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, thank you. Drisha, could you please help us create 5 breakout rooms for the participants to work on the template Hasik and Amit were shared with us?
So I guess you're also conscious about the time, since there's only 50 minutes left. So probably if people could just like create and send, and then we could, just send via email the feedback, because we don't want to kind of go beyond that time. So we just create 5 teams, and then it could be a good like exercise for them just to create and send it across, and then we can give the feedback offline.
Perfect. What I will do is we will create the 5 breakout rooms and write our email so they can share with us their proposal, and we will share it with you, if that sounds okay.
Yeah, and meanwhile, if anyone has any questions on the presentation, or if anyone wants to talk us about any particular topic that we mentioned in the session, that we'd be happy to answer.
Does anyone have any questions about the presentation? I think maybe some questions will come up once they start working on the template. So what we could do is have them work on it for 10 minutes, and for the last 5 minutes, we can see if they have any questions once they have worked on it. Does that sound
Sure.
okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Amit. Drisha, could we go ahead and create 5 groups at random, please?
Yeah, done.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, all the participants will get a notification asking them to join the breakout rooms. So please accept them. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask for help and we will go to your breakout rooms. Thank you very much. In the meantime, I want to congratulate Hasik and Amit for such a great presentation. I learned so much. It's really amazing, like all the information you covered in just 45 minutes and how useful it is. Because I feel like sometimes when we think of environmental solutions and everything, people tend to think about not making them profitable or just like making something without analyzing it so thoroughly. So I think you guys did a really good job on helping the people like have this roadmap of what they need to think about, and also starting to think about if they need to monetize their project in order to keep it running. I think you guys did a really, really good job. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, Anna.
Drisha, if you could go ahead and play a video while we have the breakout rooms on for 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
something shows up on the live stream. Thank
Should we join the breakout rooms?
What do you think would be best? We just sent the participants, but if you would like to join a breakout room in order to see how they're working and if they have any questions, we can definitely put you into a breakout room.
Yeah, okay.
Would you like that?
Yeah, we can just see what's
Sure.
going on.
Okay.
Perfect. Drisha, could you help
Thank
us
you.
with
Great session.
adding Hasik to a breakout room, please?
And I think Amit as well.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
and the meet as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe
you
two-
can be added to
two-
different breakout
Yeah,
rooms.
yeah. Super.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. If we could share the video for the recording, it'd be great. Thank you, Trisha.
Nuevo Vallarta, with a fine long sandy stretch of beach located in the state of Nayarit in Mexico, along the coastside of the warm water of the Pacific, became the epicenter for an international conference and festival where students from universities around the world across countries like Mexico, Peru, South Africa, the United States of America, Ukraine, and India participated with youthful enthusiasm for youth-led climate action on August 19 and 20, 2019. This two-day event hosted by the pop movement was tremendously rewarding and successful. The festival commenced with the distinguished presence of doctors Ash Pachori, Norma Patricia, Adrian Fernandez, Fernando Santiago Gomez Martinez, R. Renaga, Carlos Amborto, R.K. Pachori. During the two-day festival, international youth showcased a wide range of sustainability initiatives that shared the vision of comprehensively addressing the growing environmental concerns. With around 75 participants, this two-day festival was one of a kind as it served as a platform for sharing knowledge with a sustained festive element. A myriad of exhibits, workshops, presentations, and activities made it interesting by the exuberance of youthful participation. It revealed the overarching truth of the boundless potential that youth can collectively wield in transforming the threatened future as they lead with action inspired by knowledge. No Planet B, the state of the climate emergency, a wall of youth activism inviting commitments. Showcased by different workshops: waste segregation and management, eco-eaters, one less straw, Green Puzzle in Kusai, Carbon Footprint. Moving on the presentations. The Environmental Index Project. Strengthening environmental education in the Liamagizu sector, district and province of Oxapampa, Peru. Plastic food contact materials in India. The festival closed with a cultural component. A group of students and professors from the University of Guadalajara showcased their ecological initiatives through a powerful theatrical performance, Heroes Never Die. This was followed by a music concert by the pop movement's youth music ambassador, Jimena Villalon, who with her extraordinary voice united the minds, hearts, and souls of the young participants.
Hello. Yeah. Is everyone explained like what to do like for the activity?
Yes, I think okay. I think when we shared the presentation, it was clear, but if it wasn't for the rest of the participants, maybe Drisha, if we could share a message, like a broadcast message to all the participants, letting them know that they have the template on the chat and they need to address the 10 questions that are on there, please. Is that okay, Hasik, or what would you?
So I'll just go to the breakout session because like nobody was like interacting much. So
Really?
like, yeah.
Oh,
No.
I'm sorry to hear that. Drisha, could you help us share that, or maybe could we get the participants come back to this main session and we can ask them to work on the template separately and send it to us?
Yeah, I can bring them back.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you so much, Trisha. And what do you think of them asking them to work on the? Sorry, Yash, go ahead.
Apologies.
I was just saying that we could have them come back like to the session. We explain to them and we ask them to work on it separately and email it. What do you think?
Sorry?
Yeah, I think we can do that. We can ask them to maybe work on it individually, and we will share in our email IDs. Maybe Hasik and I can put in our email IDs, and we will encourage them all to just send back their templates, and we can start a discussion thread in the email, if that is all right.
Oh, and also
that would be perfect. Go ahead, Hasik. Sorry.
A quick thing. I think people are now aware on what to do.
Oh, okay.
Also, another thing. They want to share screens, but they can't, like, because they want to share so like everyone can see what's happening, but they can't. So can you just allow sharing screen?
Yeah, I think now they should all be able to share their screen.
Okay.
Well, I changed the settings, so they should be able to, but
yeah, they're coming back, right? So
yeah, here's everyone again. Okay, everyone's joining back in. Welcome. So, Hasik, what do you think would be best? Should we explain it briefly to them and they go back to their breakout rooms for a couple minutes more? Or should we explain it to them and they work on it personally and email it to us? What would be best?
No, I think they can go back to breakout rooms. So.
Okay, perfect. So hello, everyone. It appears there was a bit of confusion on what you had to do. So we shared a PowerPoint template on the chat. You should be able to download it. And with your breakout rooms, you should be able to answer the 10 questions that are on there. According to your, go ahead.
Sorry, probably in the interest of time, maybe, just have 5 minutes. I don't think so 5 minutes would be enough for people to do this. So, you could just give it to the people, they could fill out. I just had a session with a couple of people and just said, you could take any idea and convert it into a business, right? So we were talking about somebody had this beach cleanup idea and said it cannot be monetized. And then I just explained like how you could take a beach cleanup and create a monetization model of it, right? And convert it into a business. So just write your thought about the problem that you're trying to solve. Who are the people you're going to have? How are you going to solve? And if you have any blanks, happy to reach out, and then we can tell you. Literally any idea in the world can be monetized, and you could create it into a movement. So yeah.
Sure. So I think that's terrific. So maybe we can just quickly run through a little bit of guidance, and then we can spend a few minutes back in groups as Hasik had wanted. And then I think people can pursue the activity later on. We can bring them back, if that sounds like a plan.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
So can I just show what I just did with my group, so it would be easy for people?
Please.
So most people would have got this template, right? So this is basically your idea, and you want to convert into a business model, right? So the idea we spoke about was a beach cleanup, right? And so the problem is what is a beach cleanup problem? How big is the problem, right? And so it could be saying, hey, my beach has a plastic problem, and plastic problem affects 80% of the beach in the world. So it's a big problem to solve, right? But if you say I have a problem on a beach near my home, and it's infested by, for example, rats, and none of the other beaches are affected by it, right? And so that's not a big enough problem to solve. But if you say the problem I have is beach cleanup, but a beach cleanup of the plastic, because it affects 80-90%, and suddenly you have a very big problem, right? And so you can see there's a big problem that you want to solve, right? And then you kind of document how big is the problem. So 5% of all the plastic ends up on the beaches, right? And so we're talking about probably millions of tons of plastic which is littered around the beaches, right? How do you intend to solve it? And so there are multiple ways you could solve it. You could say, hey, I'm going to go and manually clean the beach. That's very inefficient, right? Because how many beach of the world are you going to clean by yourself? So you can't scale up the model. But if you say, maybe I'm going to invent a robot, which is going to automatically clean the beach, and it will take less than 8 hours to clean a beach, right? And so suddenly you're saying that I could mass produce 100,000 robots, and each beach can be cleaned by one robot in 8 hours. So suddenly you have 100,000 beaches being cleaned, right? And so that's a very efficient way of solving the problem, right? So you could say within 1 year I could clean all the beaches in the world, right? What do you offer? So your product is obviously the robot, right? So you could say, I'm going to create this robot, and this is how it works. It uses solar energy to clean. It's very clean and does not use any plastic imprint, right? And then what the robot does is, once it collects the waste, the other thing it's going to do is it's going to send it to the recycling center. So because nobody owns the plastic now, you are talking about 500,000 tons of plastic, and 1 ton could sell for $10. Suddenly you have $5 million of revenue, right? And so how would you acquire customers? So who's going to buy this, right? So obviously the municipalities, right? The beach owners, right? It's like if you have a swimming pool, everybody who has a swimming pool has a swimming pool cleaner. So you could sell it to various cities and governments who could buy this, right? And so you could say, I'm going to sell it for maybe $5,000 or $10,000, right? How do you make money? So obviously 2 ways. One is I sell it to the governments, they buy it. I'm going to make 100,000 pieces, and one piece is going to cost like $10,000. So I'm going to make $1 million selling it. Plus all the plastic data collected will generate another $10 million. So suddenly now I have $11 million in revenue, right? What could go wrong? So a couple of things that could go wrong over here. One is saying, what if the bots don't work in all the beaches, right? If the bots break, how am I going to fix it? Or let's say some beaches have got crabs or turtles which lay eggs, and they could basically end up damaging them. You don't want that to happen, right? Another example is like, let's say a few years back, somebody took an ocean cleanup project, ended up spending $25 million, 6 years, and the first thing failed, right? So it could quite happen. Or the bot is susceptible to rain. So it kind of lists down like what all potentially could go wrong. And where do you want to reach? So you want to say, hey, I want to kind of clean 60% of the beaches in next 5 years of the world. I want to sell to like 100 countries who all have ocean beaches, How do you get returns? So by the time I kind of cover like 60% of all the beaches in the world, my company is going to make like $11 million in revenue. By doing $11 million of revenue, my company will be valued at $200 million. I'm going to sell it and make money. And so now what you have is, I'm going to ask you to invest $100,000 in me, and within 3 years, I'm going to make it a $200 million company. Sounds like a plan, right? So we took a very simple problem of, beach cleanup and converted it into a multi-million-dollar opportunity, right? So I'm just give an example. There's always a way to take a problem and create a business model out of it.
That was really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that made the exercise much clearer for the participants. We have shared the PowerPoint to the WhatsApp group, so everyone has access to it now. However, we won't have time to work on it right now since we have to move on to Sophia's session. But I think what we are going to do is everyone in the session will work with their assigned mentors to answer these questions, and we will share them with you if we have any additional questions, if we have any feedback, etc. Does that sound good? And also, Hasik, would it be possible for us to share your original presentation with the participants so they have access to the information?
Yeah, that's
okay. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your time and your session. It was really interesting. And as you were saying, Sarfaraz, it's really important to consider how a project can turn into a business in order to have to keep it running, right? And to be able to do more impact and to have more people join the cause. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
It's
now I do wish we had more time for each session, but now we need to move on to our next session. So our next session is called Communicating Your Message, and it will be imparted by Sofia Lana, who is already here with us. Sofia Lana is, she has a degree in commerce from the University of Valladolid, and she's the co-founder of Verde Agua, an environmental project that has won 2 national and European entrepreneurship awards, which seeks to reduce the environmental impact of single-use plastics. Within the company, Sofia directs communication and sales. She is also a part of the Ocean's Voice movement belonging to Yongo. In addition, she is a facilitator of youth exchange projects financed by the European Commission, and in her final degree project, she dealt with the subject of plastics directive and the market's response to new materials such as compostables. Her goal of climate action is to focus on the environment awareness and having conversation with people from different countries. Thank you so much, Sofia. We give the word to you. And Kamal, if you could help us share Sofia's presentation, we'd really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. And also, I feel very honored to be sharing a screen with Hasik. It was an amazing presentation. And now I am feeling like saturated because now my presentation is way much more brief. I'm going to go quite fast due to the half of the session is going to be working in groups. So first of all, I'm going to introduce a bit the activity. We don't see the full screen, Komal. We just see this minimized screen. I don't know if you can. Perfect. So, yeah. Can you go for the next one? Okay, so, well, my name is Sofia, and I think I don't need more introduction because Anna did it perfectly. Today we are going to take a look into things that are involving communication facts, but not only in the part of how to develop our own project, also we are going to work on how to spread an environmental message, how to spread environmental ideas, but properly to the accurate audience. First of all, what we're going to do is an energizer. I've seen most of you have off your cameras. I don't know if you would mind, just tell me by the microphone to turn on the cameras, because we want to play a game which is called Where in the World Is. It's something quite fast, but I need to know if you don't mind to turn on your cameras. If it's okay for you, can we stop sharing the screen and if we see all of us. Okay, so how this works, I'm going to say where in the world is, and I'm going to say a name of some of the ones that are there. Okay, so imagine I say where in the world is Anna Hanhausen, and in my case I have Anna right on the left, right on the right, but maybe some of you have it in other sides, so we have to all point where in the world is Anna. So who is the next one to participate? Anna, because I point her, has to say where in the world, and she's going to choose another one to sign, okay? And this is a chain, okay? This is to wake up a bit and to change our minds to the next session. So where in the world is Drisha?
Okay, so it's my turn. Where in the world is Liz? What about if they are on the next page?
If it's on the next page, just move to the right and search for this person.
Okay, let's see. Where in the world is Hope? I think.
Hope.
Mida Hope.
I see her. So yes, can we go a bit faster if they say our names?
Okay, yeah.
So
Mida.
Mira, you have to just point someone.
Where in the world is Philo?
Where is Philo?
Okay, two more.
Okay.
So we are waiting for you to.
Okay, Philo, sorry. Okay, so Kevin, can you point someone?
Where in the world is Kamal?
Okay. Where in the world is Lee?
Okay, guys. Thank you so much. this was a bit faster. I hope we could all say the all names, but we are a lot. And we are going to get to the next energizer. I need you to get paper and a pen. If it can be fast, just a small piece of paper. Right in a corner. It's going to take just 1 minute. So.
No.
Kamal, can you share the screen, please?
Yeah.
Perfect. You guys ready? So, go to the next one. There, stop. So, we have to write in the paper, I love pop. All of us, okay? So, like you see there. Please. Okay, ready? You finished?
Yeah.
Okay. Get to the click one. Kamal, you stop sharing. Okay, so now we have to write the numbers matching with the letters, okay? So we have to write the 1 with the I, the 2 with the L, the 3 with the O, and so on. Like this. Ready? Okay. Next one. So now we have to write the I with the 1, the L with the 2. Can you click, please, Kamal? The L, O with the 3, and so on, okay? So we have to write first the letter and then the number, okay? So I write the I and then the 1, the L and then the 2, the O and then the 3. Okay, you got it? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, congratulations. This was an energizer to show our skills that we can do more than 2 things at the same time. So now that we are working, we can start with the introduction. I'm going to be quite fast, okay, with the main topics. So, okay. I want to ask you, who of here, because I met you on the introduction session, but I want to know deeper. Can you raise your hands if you have an idea or a project or something in your mind that you think could be the solution for a problem right now in society? Raise your hands if you have any idea or you have a project in mind. Okay, I see a lot of you. Okay, so it doesn't specifically need to be right now developing a project to be named an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are all of us, and entrepreneur souls are everywhere. So we just have to keep working. Okay, next one. Okay, as Hasik commented perfectly, it's so important how we consider our audience. In this activity, we are going to comment a bit how to deal with the audience, not only at the time of presenting a project, also ideas and messages. We have to analyze and understand our audience, their priorities, their ways of consume, and very important, how they assume the information and how aware are them about the message we are going to express. It's so important to understand how our audience is aware. So, of course, we are not going to spread a message for the person that is on the top of the image than the one that is down. Now we're going to speak about some visual communication tips that you can use in any presentation, Instagram post, Facebook post, anytime you want to spread a message or communicate an idea, okay? So we have to be very clear that we cannot write and copy the whole text. It's very important to sum up. And for that, for example, we have here one example. This is a Spanish government slide where they explain something about animals. It's not that important. It's how they put the content. Yeah, get to the next one. We have to deconstruct main ideas and sub-ideas. So, for example, in the example that is in the next one, this is like the American Pledge, which is a whole document explaining what are the aims for the climate change. And here are 3 sub-ideas to explain the main concept. So you can be very brave and very clear when you want to share something. This is one example. Can you? Okay, another one. It's super important to give a space between the words that when you are sharing something. And another thing that we have to take in consideration is we have to highlight keywords. For example, in this slide, I want you to give me feedback. What do you think about this slide? Do you think it's well presented? Is enough content? Too much? What do you think about this Instagram post?
Too much.
I've over-highlighted stuff.
But
for me, I would be reading,
Yes, sorry. Tell me.
Yeah, for me, I would be reading the bold ones first, which will catch my attention. Yeah.
That's a good point. And what if we reduce the size and we give more space between each words? What do you think? It would work?
Yeah, it could be work.
Maybe we have to play with the same information, but playing with the sizes is also important. But yeah, too much text for an Instagram post. You can detect very fast the bold words, but you just lose the communication. Next one, please. Okay, so for sum up, also we can use illustrations and infographics in Instagram, Facebook, whatever you want. It's super important to catch the attention. Maybe it can be a strategy to sum everything in an illustration and then give the whole information back in the post is very important. If you really don't, you cannot sum up everything. So, for example, here there is no text at all, but all of us understand what is the image trying to transmit, right? This is Searching Nemo and it's also from the Spanish government and it's super visual. Next one, please. In this one, it's also visual, but it's not super fast understanding what this is trying to transmit. This is the tons of plastic used since 2009 and is comparing with the side of Manhattan. But without text, we would not understand what it's saying. So it's also quite important to combine text and images. Next one. So in this one, we have a graphic and just in a few seconds, we understand it's speaking about Overshoot Day. It's super important to be very visual and make things clear. Like in this one we are seeing, you perfectly understand what it's saying. Next one, please. So in this one, I think is a good way to summarize everything we've mentioned. They highlight words, they sum up main idea and sub-ideas. They made bold words, highlight them. And also they have infographics behind to see visually everything. This speaks, it's also about a biodiversity foundation, which is from the Spanish government. And they are speaking about the pollution of masks, but I don't need to understand you, to explain you because it's evident. Okay, next one. So in this one, for example, what does this presentation transmit you? Is it original? Is it very formal? What do you feel when you see this type of infographic?
I think it's easy to understand.
Yeah, it's easy, but I think it's something for experienced people.
Yep.
Is it very formal? Is it calling the attention in a social media watching this. It's original, but maybe if we see it in another way, it's showing too many things, Leah says. So
It requires a lot of logic.
Yeah, but what do you think if you see the same thing in this way?
I don't understand nothing.
You understand nothing.
I think it's easier to understand.
This is like the same before, like the carbon footprint of each type of source, but the bigger the circle is, the bigger the carbon footprint is for this source. So for me, it's like a minimalist picture that could be in any museum. It's very visual. It's easier to understand. Yeah, well, this is two ways to share it. Maybe this can be more for an Instagram post, more original, and the other one can be more for a formal presentation. Okay, next one. And now we're going to go for the corporal and oral communication. Do you know that the first sight impression is the 80% of the for the how people decide if they like or not what they're going to explain? If you're going to explain it and you didn't catch at the first sight attention the good looking of the other person, you have things very difficult. All right, get to the next one. So nowadays that we are in a difficult situation to interact socially directly, we are more and more used to do this type of things, webinars, lives in Instagram. So we have to have very clear that our body is also speaking at the time that we are orally communicating. Next one, please. Like in this case, something very similar of what we are doing now. Next one. So in this video, you can see this person, which it seems is giving instructions or has a higher position than the other ones. It's very relaxed. It's smiling, looking to the eyes to the other ones, and the other ones are responding to these communications. It means it's very chill. It's something that is bi-directional and it's not something mandatory. We have to have in consideration how important our body speaks when we are explaining something. Okay, so body direction. If, for example, I'm giving a workshop and my body is looking to the other side, for example, to the door, it means I just want to leave. I'm not feeling comfortable. If I'm moving hands so fast, I can saturate you. Maybe I'm not feeling very sure what I want to say and I just want to saturate you with my hands. For example, when I'm closing my arms, it means I'm putting barriers between both of us when we are speaking. Maybe it's that I'm not feeling comfortable of what you're saying, or what you're saying about what I try to transmit you. It's very obvious how body talks unconsciously, even when we don't notice it. Control your face gestures. It happens to me, and maybe it happened while I was explaining. When I'm concentrating too much, I'm feeling so tense, my face, it's not even smiling sometimes. And we have to take into consideration, this is transmitting anxiety also to the audience. So we have to smile, feel relaxed, look to the eyes, and feel that what we are saying, it's been arriving properly to the person that is listening to us. Next one. And my favorite part, which is cultural communication. That's the next one. Okay, so I want to ask you, for example, think about any type of change. Who has to lead the change? I want answers quickly, the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, so the answer is me, that is you, in your case, anyone. Very good answers. But for that, we have also to take something else in consideration, that the culture, it's our brand, and it's something that we cannot forget nowadays. It's a part of our tool to communicate. It's so important to take in consideration, because to solve global problems, how do we have to act? This is a question to you locally. Perfect. Yeah. So what is the most important thing to act locally, to remind everyone how important is our roots? So our audience is also culturally, and we also have to prepare the message for this cultural. Next one. So for example, what happens with Greta? Greta is an amazing leader. She is a global icon, but is also spreading a cultural message. She's from Northern Europe. She's sailing in a boat, which not most of the young people are used to because we are not living close to the sea and etc. So her message can arrive different depending on the audience. But for example, there are types of things that maybe are a bit dispersed when you share it. For example, what do you think of a kid that has never seen the sea? That lives in the countryside, and they ask them to take a sailboat instead of a plane to travel. Do you think he's going to understand the message? Maybe it's more important to think what is happening in her region that is more important. That's why what I'm trying to transmit to you, that is very, very important to have local leaders. Yeah, get to the next one. In my opinion, what happens with Greta is that she's making a domino effect, that she is awareing young people, the next generations, which are so important, but now she's not getting into the audience who is making the most pain, which are the ones that are polluting the most. But she's arriving to the next generations, which are also kids and relatives of these people that is making the biggest food carbon print. So it's so important that we have very clear who is our audience. Because for example, she says, you ruined my childhood. Do you think these people is getting the message? From a kid of 15 years old, it's not her audience, but she's also giving an impact on her real audience. So it's not a wrong message. It's not going directly, but it will arrive. More or less, did you understand what I'm trying to transmit? Yeah, okay, next one.
Yes.
So by now we finished with the introduction. Thank you so much because you are collaborating a lot in the chat and but I don't see the screens of everyone. I'm going to give you a few examples of real examples. For example, this is the logotype of my company, which is Verde Agua. And it's inspired in Gaudí technique, which is using broken glass to make new images. What we did is mixing this technique, because we are a Spanish company, with microplastics in the ocean, because our goal is to reduce the single-use plastic pollution. So in the beginning, once they are watching my company, they are already watching my values. And it's something that we have to really take into consideration from the first moment. Next slide, please. And this is a YouTube channel that is a Spanish channel, which is named Clima Bar, and it's very cultural, adapted. It's ironically laughing about capitalism, and it's giving you in 6 minutes a chill conversation about environmental and climate change topics. So in 6 minutes, they firstly begin with a drink like wine cup, or they give you the recipe for a mojito, and then once they are with the drink, they start to chat in 6 minutes about like the small ones that we have here, like how to save the world from the coats. Yeah, they have amazing videos that you can see if you want to learn Spanish a bit, because they are trying to start to speak in English, but at the beginning they are only in Spanish, and it's super funny. And it's a super good way to adapt to one audience. Young people that are not very aware, or they are losing some specific topics like, well, yeah, you can translate to English captions. You want me to read in English what it's saying in the... Yeah, well, if you follow Climabar, maybe they have the subtitles in English, but it's a good plan. And the speaker, she's one of the best ones. I don't know if you know Too Good To Go. but it's a huge waste food app where you can buy in the restaurants before they are going to close what it was not sold. And she's working there and she knows a lot. So I really recommend you to follow her and the YouTube channel. And now it's time to work. So what I'm going to ask you, you have a task and it's to write a new to a specific target I will randomly give you. You are going to work in groups. So you will be sent to a platform which is Jamboard. I don't know if you ever work. And when you have assigned the slide where you have to work, you have to write a new adapted to the audience I gave you. And you have to explain what is the overshoot day to these audiences, okay? So get to the next one. For example, this is for the group 1. They have to adapt what is the overshoot day and how you would explain it to Donald Trump, okay? So you will have 20 minutes. You will use each slide of the Jamboard. Once you are in this slide, write the names of the members in the corner so we all know that you started to work, even if you are still not writing ideas on the Jamboard. And get back to the one before, please. I think I'm not forgetting anything. You have the 20 minutes and Drisha is going to write on the chat what is your number for the group, and then you will be redirectly to the slide. I don't know if you have any question before we all have our groups assigned from what I explained.
Yes, I just have a quick question for you, Sophia.
Yes.
I just wanted to check, when you share the link, could you make sure that you make it that the people who join with the link can edit the Jamboard? Because when I tried to join with the one you sent me through WhatsApp, it only let me view. So if you could edit that, that way the link will work for everyone once you share it.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I think it's now ready. Any questions, or do you have any example or something similar, an account that you've seen that you like? No? Okay, so we can go to the
Yes, could you share the link in the chat so we can join the
So you click
Jamboard?
in the Jamboard, there is it. I know, sorry, I didn't share it with all of you.
I think there are some questions too, just in case there are any questions before we split.
If you want, we can answer at the end, or what do you prefer? I don't mind.
We can have a look at the question and see if there's anything.
Because I think Drisha already sent us to the breakout rooms. I don't know if everyone left or not.
Okay, thank you.
I think everyone is moving to the breakout rooms. Yeah, I can explain maybe what is the overshoot day. Maybe someone is missing the information. Everyone is moving to the breakout rooms. Perfect. Drisha, is everyone assigned? It's been assigned everyone?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yudish, please check. You must have got a request to join group 2.
We are not group number 2. No, group number 3. No, Komal, Destine, and I.
Yeah, actually, everybody else dropped out of the meeting, so I had to dissolve group number 3. Do you want to go? Do you want to go in the other?
No, it's perfect. Don't worry. I'm going to check if everyone are already in the rooms. Perfect. Maybe if you want, what we can do is to share on the screen of the Jamboard, because there is also the slide of what they have to do there, or if you want, and we can start to watch what they're doing, because we see at the same time everyone. Do you have the link, Komal, of the Jamboard? Maybe we can see, because this is the same slide is in the Jamboard also, so we can show it from there if you prefer, later to show the results of the other ones. If you prefer it, I don't mind.
Is it okay?
Yeah, it's perfect. There we can see also that they are working, most of them. Oh, these ones are going quite fast. Perfect.
Let's see the other ones.
We gave them 20 minutes, no? How time is left? How much time?
Yeah. 13 minutes are left.
Okay, if we see they are summarizing sooner, we can. I'm curious about the message they will do. if I write on this chat, they will read it, or not because they are on the breakout rooms?
No, they won't be able to read it. But if you want me to type something, I can broadcast something.
Just to remind them to write the group members, or to write something to, because every group is fulfilled, right?
It's what?
It's everyone has a group from 1 to 6, or it's any of these groups of the.
No. So there are right now in total four groups. But I created 5 initially. Group 3 does not exist, so there are 4 existing groups right now.
Okay.
You want them to write the name of the group members? I have the list.
It's just because I didn't know if in group number 4, for example, everyone is working, or it's they are choosing, I don't know.
So if you want to go and see, I mean, roam around in different groups, I can give you, I mean, I can assign you that. Do you want to do that?
No, it's okay. I think they will understand it.
Should I play a video?
If you want, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So let me start. Thank you so much. Let me start by saying, in particular, thank you to Ash Pachari for the invitation. I feel very honored to address this critically important meeting. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
How that happened. Okay, so basically a very big thank you to Ash Pachari for inviting me to this critically important meeting and giving me a chance to talk to so many wonderful young people. The future is in your hands, and we really need you to act in every possible way to see that we move the planet forward in a safer way. So first of all, let me say just something about the state of the oceans. The reason why we've just heard Mike Rand talking about the pollution of the oceans is because of our human attitude towards what we call the natural world. So I just want to first of all say, actually, do we treat ourselves as apart from the natural world? Excuse me, apart from the natural world?
Yeah.
Have you seen? Have you at least to her group?
Sorry.
Because she went out. Yes, she's already on the room. Yeah, nothing. Because I didn't know if Liz was added. She lost the connection, but now she's back. No, on the breakout room.
Okay.
Or a part of the natural world. So all of our language at the moment is built around the idea that we are separate, that somehow we are not a part of it. Of course, we co-evolved on this planet with every aspect of that natural world. We are a part of it, but we have pushed ourselves into this position where we feel we are above it all. And this year, with the COVID-19 pandemic, we are suffering from not fully understanding our interaction with as being part of that natural world. And of course, the bigger threat is from the destruction of the oceans in the way that this is continuing. There is no such thing as waste in the natural world until we came along and developed this notion that we can wrap things up and throw them away. In the natural world, everything is recycled. And it's taking us a very long time to learn that critically important business of recycling. I'm delighted to hear that Mike Rann took South Australia into a banning of plastic bags, etc. I'm senior strategy advisor to the government of Rwanda, and I'm very pleased to say I believe Rwanda was the first country in the world to ban plastic bags. The initiation of these exercises need not be in the developed world. They can happen in the emerging economies. Rwanda, first of all, banned plastic bags back in 2010, and now they've banned all single-use plastics. So it's an advance in a society that really is gaining in every single way from the respect that people are paying to their environment. Now, of course, what I really want to focus on is how we can manage to change the situation. I refer now to what China did in introducing a new word. I think the English translation is simply eco-civilization. And this was introduced in the Communist Party constitution in 2012 in China, and it's now part of the government constitution in China. And eco-civilization is interpreted as meaning that we develop our well-being alongside the well-being of ecosystems. We can't separate one from the other because actually we're all a part of that ecosystem. Now, until we get that into our heads, that we need to treat ourselves as part of the ecosystems, we will continue using the ecosystems as a disposable, whereas, of course, we totally depend on it, as do all other living creatures. Now, what I want to move on to is the question of rising sea levels and the question of climate change, because this quite simply is the biggest challenge the world is faced with today. Let's take the Arctic Sea. The Arctic Sea is now 50% exposed to sunlight during the Arctic summer every year. And that level of exposure is growing. And of course, it never was. There were explorers who walked across to the North Pole. You can't do that anymore. You have to swim there. So what is this? What's the consequence of this for the rest of the planet? Well, let's just remember that blue sea absorbs sunlight very effectively. White ice reflects it very effectively. So, of course, we've now disturbed the planetary climate system by creating a hotspot in the middle of the North Pole in the polar summer. And the result of this is that, averaged through the year, the whole of the Arctic Circle region is now heating up at 2.5 times the rate of the rest of the planet. Now, why does this affect every one of us, particularly those who are island nations? And here in Britain, we are indeed also an island nation, but also anyone who's living on a city that's at a coastline. 80% of our cities are at coastline. Why does it affect all of us? Because sitting in the Arctic Circle is Greenland, and Greenland ice is now beginning to melt. And it's also following the same pattern as the Arctic ice. It's following not a linear depletion, but a plus linear. In other words, there's a very big positive feedback in the loss of the ice from Greenland. And when all of the ice in Greenland melts, sea levels will rise by 7 meters. And that's not going to happen quickly. It's taken hundreds and hundreds of thousands and millions of years to build all that ice up. But at the same time as the Arctic is melting, the Antarctic is becoming destabilized by the warming of the ocean below, the bits of the Antarctic ice that are sitting on the ocean. And we're in danger of seeing very large chunks of ice entering the ocean. And one of these chunks could easily push sea levels up, just with one chunk, could push the sea levels up by 0.5 to 1 meter. So we're talking about a possibility that we are risking the future of civilization. And the reason I say it as dramatically as that is because moving forward in time, it's not very long before one of the biggest cities in the world, Calcutta in India, is no longer going to be livable because of not just rising sea levels, storms at sea causing the incursion of water further and further inland, and Calcutta is already being flooded quite frequently. When it's flooded every year, then of course you can no longer live there. And across the water from Calcutta is Bangladesh.
People is coming back.
Bangladesh, 2/3 of them are no longer being livable. And as we
I'm watching people coming back, so I guess more or less you just sum up. Maybe we can share from here the Jamboard and volunteers if you want to start introducing the news. Anyone?
I'll go ahead
I
and
would
share
like
the Jamboard if you want. Sorry.
I would like to start.
Sorry,
it's
who?
group 2. Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we were talking about how people in rural areas would be taught about overshooting. So, of course, we do know that most people do not have access to internet. So we thought we could get a megaphone and share the message. We could also do flyers. Also, another way through which people can actually connect to our messages by performing a play. So we can show them how different people are facing issues with a scarcity of resources. So we can perform a drama, and people will understand it better. Another way we have Another way we could think of is, we could tell people, we could ask them about the resources that they have seen depleting. For example, it could be about forest cover, pastures, or it could be about, the sea levels increasing, or about the flora and fauna around them. It could be about the rains, if they have increased or decreased. We can ask them about flooding, about natural disasters. Also, we could ask them about the fisheries they can get, because in case they live in coastal regions. Also, we should tell them that this is happening in other areas of the world, so that they understand the gravity of the situation. So finally, we could tell them that resources which should have lasted until December 31st only lasted until August 22nd, and this is happening everywhere in the world. So we should tell them that reducing overshooting can be done by everyone, and it should be done by everyone, and that everyone's steps, they do count.
So yeah.
Thank you so much. Completely agree. Very good channel and very good message to spread. I guess the audience will get it super clear. Thank you. Group number 4, I think, or number 3, there is. Number 4 wants to present the ideas. Does anyone of the group wants to present, or we just can?
It looks like Liz raised her hand. I don't know what group she's in.
I don't see her.
Oh wait,
May
she used to
there's
be
a
in group 2.
mistake.
I don't know if she changed.
There's a
groups.
mistake, sorry.
Yeah, if there's another group that'd like to present.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I
Nita?
was having some connection troubles. I can go with group 4.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay.
So, well, our target group was young people that consumes a lot of everything. So we decided that the channel that we were going to use was going to be social media, maybe Instagram, because, well, we know that nowadays that's like a really moved social media that we can start sharing a lot of stuff, and then people are going to look at it, and then if it's catchy, it will create something. So some ideas that we were discussing about was to maybe sharing some posts with online workshops, school campaigns, maybe sharing some fun facts, or create the idea of an interactive work that will share a message and spread this, because when we tackle young people, this will let us create the domino effect. So we impact these young people, and through this sort of education stuff, we will impact other people that are behind, that are linked to these young people.
Well, thank you so much. I would have liked to see what could you have said to these young people, but the channels are very great. I think they are super accurate and would work for sure. And thank you so much. And I think, yeah.
Maybe we can take one more group, do you think?
It's the last one. I think it's the only one left.
All right. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so I talk. I'm from group 5. So the thing our target group was City Hall of our town. In this case, we use Mexico City because we were most of us from Mexico and 2 people near Mexico City or in Mexico City. So we used this 22 of August as an excuse to send a tweet to our major. Her name is Claudia Schimbaum. So it's Earth calling, and Earth says, help, I ran out of resources on August 22. Claudia Schimbaum, what did you do to cause this? What will you do to fix it?
Very great.
And we use these pictures of Earth being harmed by coronavirus and climate change, in this case, global warming. And yeah, I'm a superhero helping Earth.
Thank you. I would like to see the response to this tweet. Very great. I'm sorry, but I think we missed a group because I didn't see it on the Jamboard. I thought it was the last group, but maybe, yeah. Hope, I think it's saying
I think Mira was saying something, Sophia.
Yeah.
Oh, I was saying that I raised up my hand visually. So because our project requires communication, I do not have to like present it like others have done. So I raised up my hand, but it seems it hadn't been seen. So I'll give the floor to him and probably come in after.
I think you can go ahead, Mida, if you want to share what your group did.
Group 3 is done?
Yes, please, Vida, carry on.
All right. So I was in group 3 and the members include Vanessa,
Sorry,
Salma, and Leah.
there was nobody in group 3. There were people in group 1, 2.
Sorry, I was in group 1 and the members include Vanessa, Salma, and Leah. And then the target group is youth in the Karamoja sub-region, Uganda. We choose a channel of communication, which is a poster. And then our headline is, don't have a mask, simply wash your hands. If you can't afford a mask, simply wash your hands as often as possible. The reason as why we chose this is because masks are not environmental friendly at all. And not everyone can afford them. So looking at the situation, the target group, we chose Karamoja sub-region, and not all of them can afford the televisions, not all of them can access social media. So we decided to use a poster, which everyone can access, and probably we're going to use the language that they can use to read. And then the message is wash hands often, because that's what they can do. They cannot afford masks like everyone else, and it's environmental friendly. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you a lot. I think everyone presented right. Well, I think I can sum up and give the word to Ash to close the workshop. And thank you so much to being here and participate, and were you all amazing, including the pop group, which is having a lot of work behind showing and dynamizing these things, which is not easy at all. And thank you so much for inviting me here today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Sophia. We really appreciate your session. It was really interesting, and I thought it was a really interactive way to share this great message. So thank you very much. Now over to Ash for the closing words. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I just wanted to convey my deepest thanks to everyone here, and particularly to the Urbis Foundation. I wanted to thank Hasik and Amit, and I also want to thank Mr. Kazi and Priyanka for the very thoughtful, careful, and deliberate planning and session, which I think was very detailed, and I love the way that you leverage the examples that you did in order for us to be able to extend that learning and practice to the many issues I know are embraced by the family we're together with here today. So I really want to encourage everyone, please do use that wonderful activity sheet and practice. We'll work together with you, and I know that we have mentors that are specifically working together with each one of you. So we hope that you'll be able to translate that into the local issues that you're dealing with. I also want to say a very special thank you to Sophia for, again, a hugely creative, a very interactive, innovative, and truly important issue, which I think you embraced in a lot of great detail. I love the way you talked about issues of body language and how technology today is being leveraged for communication, and how we're to communicate. 70% of our communication is body language, and how do you deal with that? Also, the very important tools that you explored for social media and the many examples which were very vivid. Thank you so much. I know that the creative activity will also allow everybody to sort of think outside the box, and I think we need more and more of that. And I heard the feedback, so I want to congratulate all of you for coming up with the ideas, and a big congratulations to to all of you for putting your thoughts together, and let's keep them coming. Thank you to the Pop family. And of course, needless to say, we are looking forward to the next week, but let's keep the communication coming, everyone. So big congratulations and thank you all. It's been absolutely wonderful. Really want to say that this has been such a creative and invigorating session. So thank you all very, very much. And movimiento.
Pop.
That was a whimper. Movimiento. Keep it coming, guys. Yes, thank you all. All right. Dr. Norma pulls out her camera the moment she hears movimiento.
Yes,
Right.
but
Thank you all so much. It's been fantastic. Always such a thrill to get together with you. So one more time, movimiento. Hey. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
It was great seeing everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep safe, everyone, and see you soon. We'll be in touch through the week for sure. Thank you very much. Especially to our wonderful,
that's
wonderful.
wonderful. Wait.
Facilitators.
Good. Excellent. It's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Keep safe, family, and thank you all again. What a phenomenal, insightful, enlightening contribution, and thank you for your wisdom, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.
Loved it. Many thanks.
Gracias, doctora Norma. Saludos.
Gracias, Kevin.
Gracias, hermano.
Gracias, Ash. Estamos en contacto.
Exactamente. Nos vemos muy, muy pronto. Gracias.
Sí.
Bye.
Gracias,
Bye.
Sofía.
Cuídate mucho.
Bye-bye.
Igualmente.
Ya, muchas gracias.
Bye, Ana.
Bye.
Bye, bye.
Comal.
Bye,
Trisha.
bye.
Bye.
Tricia, Dr. Norma, Sofía,
Bye,
Destiny,
Vanessa.
Bye.
Ana, Vishnu, hermano, Komal, Vanessa, Tricia.
Bye, Mishra.
Gracias. Bye, Vishnu.